Just an invocation, please.
Thank you, and good morning. Let us join together in silence and reflection as we ask for guidance from that source we hold most sacred. As our city officials gather this morning to do the executive work of the city, may you bring with you not only your diverse talents, but your heartfelt desire and commitment to perform your duties at the highest standard of leadership on behalf of the residents of Vero Beach, Florida. Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, and with that, we will begin the April 7th regular City Council meeting. Mrs. Falk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Old?
Here.
Ms. Graves? Here. Mrs. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mayor Winger?
Here. All right, preliminary matters, agenda additions, deletions, or adoption. Are there any changes or so
Staff
on?
has no changes.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. All right, we'll move on to proclamations. I have the first, Ray and Thompson, and we have a special guest, too, that you'll be pleased to see in a few minutes. But Ray and John can come forward, and after I read this, then the special guest can come forward. April 6th has a special significance for all Americans, and especially those Americans of Scottish descent, because the Declaration of Arbroath, the Scottish Declaration of Independence, was signed April 6, 1320, and the American Declaration of Independence was modeled on an inspirational document. And whereas this proclamation honors the contributions that Americans of Scottish descent have made in the founding of our nation with their hard work, faith, values, and whereas Scotland and the United States have long shared ties of family and friendship, and we recognize the monumental achievements and valuable contributions made by Scottish Americans that have led to America's preeminence in the field of science, technology, medicine, government, politics, economics, architecture, literature, media, and visual and performing arts. And whereas the National Tartan Day is an opportunity to celebrate the spirit and character of Scottish Americans and recognize their many contributions to our culture and our way of life. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, does hereby proclaim April 6, 2015 as Scottish Recognition Day and presents this proclamation to the Scottish Society as they celebrate Tartan Day and the 20th anniversary of the founding of the Scottish Society of the Treasure Coast. I think our special guests can come forward. Be sure to get where the camera can see you down front.
My name is John Thompson. I represent the Scottish Society of the Treasure Coast and also our newly formed Vero Beach Pipes and Drums Band. And Jacob Craig is our pipe major, and we are so proud to have him get this band started. I'd just like to say a few words. National Tartan Day honors and celebrates Scottish culture and the role it has played in the development of the United States. Canada has been celebrating Tartan Day since '93, and the U.S. Senate officially recognized it in 1998. The Scottish Society of the Treasure Coast and this newly formed band would like to thank the City of Vero Beach for allowing us this opportunity, and we look forward to many other opportunities that our pipe band can participate in the City of Vero Beach. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Please come forward. Right. You know, they say anywhere in the world, there's a Scotsman will pop out from behind wherever they are because the Scots are all over the world. Congratulations.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thanks. Sir, thank you.
And I'd like to thank all the Scottish people that are here. They're beautiful tartans. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Okay, now we're going to do National Telecommunications Week. I believe our officers are involved in this one. Unfortunately, that's a pretty tough one to follow, I got to say. That was I don't know, David, if you've got any hidden talents there to...
Yes, I do.
Well, the proclamation states that whereas the health and safety of our citizens and visitors is critical to the City of Vero Beach, and emergencies can occur at any time that require police services and the availability of the Vero Beach Police Department's 911 Communications Center, which is integral to the peace and mind of each individual and the security of our community. And the men and women who answer these calls for help gather essential information and dispatch the appropriate assistance, which is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas public safety dispatchers are more than a calm and reassuring voice at the end of a phone line, they are knowledgeable and highly trained individuals who work closely with our police officers. And public safety dispatchers are the single vital link for our police officers by monitoring their activities, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And the dedicated dispatchers of the Vero Beach Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals and the safety of our community. And each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, the City Council of Vero Beach does hereby proclaim April 12th through April 18th as National Telecommunications Week in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and our citizens safe. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Vice Mayor Kramer. On behalf of our 10 dispatchers, I would like to thank the entire council for the proclamation for next week. And we do this each year, and each year I certainly echo pretty much the same thing. But we've got a great group of dispatchers that provide such a service to the community, and they're that key cog, that key link to our officers getting to where they need to go in the time that they get there and in a safe manner. So they have, I believe, probably 80-plus years of experience between the 10 of them. We've got dispatchers that have been with us for 20-plus years. And that says a lot. And if you're familiar with communications and dispatching at all, there's a pretty good turnover in that field quite a bit because of the different shifts and just the stresses that actually come with the job, sitting down and taking the calls that, you know, it could be slow for a few hours and then all of a sudden everything breaks loose and you get people screaming and yelling on the other side. Someone's been stabbed, there's been a shooting, what have you, please come quick. So that little bit of lull period, you know, answered with that excitement, you know, that they have to deal with that. And, you know, I just actually had one-on-one interviews with all our employees, and the one thing that I got from our dispatchers is, again, the pride that they have working for the police department in the city, and also is they're like sponges as well. The officers are as well, but they want to train and get more training and be better. And that's, as a leader, that's what you want to hear. You want to be able to provide that training that they're asking for, to be better people, to be better dispatchers, and to service in a better way. So again, thank you very much, and we're certainly proud of the whole group.
Thank you.
David, you don't have a trumpet?
Yes, sir. Harmonica in my pocket.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, right. Just not in our direction.
Okay, Brady Ballard and Lynn Hall. Whereas April 15th, 2015 will mark the 68th anniversary of Jackie Robinson making his Major League debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947 to become the first African American to play Major League Baseball, and Jackie spent 9 spring trainings from 1948 to 1956 at Dodgertown Vero Beach, and the Dodgers advanced to the World Series 5 times in those years, and in 1948 Dodgertown became the first and only integrated spring training site in the South. And Mr. Pat O'Connor, minor league baseball president, said that Jackie Robinson Day honors a man who was instrumental in the integration of baseball. And it also is a day for all people to come together in unity. And Major and Minor League Baseball celebrates Jackie Robinson Day nationally each April 15th, and they are proud to be part of this annual celebration. And the second annual Jackie Robinson Celebration Game will take place on Wednesday, April 15th, 2015 at historic Dodgertown, when the St. Lucie Mets and the Brevard County Manatees face off to benefit a local worthy cause, the United Way of Indian River County. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, does hereby proclaim April 15th, 2015 as Jackie Robinson Day in the City of Vero Beach, and urge all of our residents to attend the celebration game to benefit the United Way and to honor Jackie Robinson for all of his achievements as an outstanding athlete and being a civil rights activist who created American history.
On behalf of Historic Dodgertown, Lynn Hall, our chair for the United Way game, and CEO Michael Kent of the United Way, we just want to thank the city, all of its workers, and law enforcement as well for their support of the game. We're excited to bring this back to Historic Dodgertown for a second year. Specifically, we want to thank you for partnering with us in utilizing the Old City Golf Course, because with the growth that we anticipate from the 4,400 we had last year, we fully expect to be utilizing that space for additional parking and overflow. And the excitement that comes with it. But we're proud to bring this game to the area, give folks a chance to maybe sit in their old seats, enjoy a family-friendly event that brings the community together, and an event that recognizes Jackie Robinson and the history that the facility has here in Vero Beach, here in Indian River County, and throughout baseball.
Thank you.
Question? You've got some exciting things going on at Dodgertown. I know you're also having Vero Beach High School playing Sebastian High School. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Tomorrow evening, we will have Vero Beach and Sebastian River playing their annual game. It was formerly known as Dollars for Scholars. Now I believe it's the Scholarship Foundation of Indian River County, but same cause. So we'll have that. I believe that's a $6 admission with a couple dollars of proceeds that go to the foundation as well. And we're proud at Historic Dodgertown we'll actually be donating over 3,000 baseballs to a number of different area, both schools and youth leagues that came from our partner, the Korean professional team that trained with us earlier in the year. So we're happy to be bringing, another family-friendly event and spectators back to Holman Stadium for that.
Thank you very much.
And we're so happy to have you here, I can tell you. Anyway, come forward.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good.
Thanks. We'll see you out there.
Yep.
Put it somewhere you can see it.
Appreciate it, man.
Sir.
We're also celebrating Guardian Ad Litem Month, and could Vern Melvin come forward?
I'm sorry, he's had another one this morning, so I'm not sending
Okay, and what is your name?
Andrea Beemander.
Okay, Andrea, thank you. Proclamation. Whereas the City of Vero Beach prides itself on giving back to the community, contributing to the quality of life among citizens, and whereas the Guardian Ad Litem program speaks for the best interest of the abused, abandoned, and neglected children who are involved in the court system, and whereas more than 200 children in the community suffer from some form of abuse or neglect each year, and whereas Vero Beach community members are encouraged to join together throughout the month of April to raise awareness of those children fallen victim to abuse, neglect, abandonment, and whereas this effort will give abused, neglected, and abandoned children in our community an improved chance for a safe, permanent home and a positive future. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, does hereby proclaim the month of April 2015 as Guardian Ad Litem Month in the City of Vero Beach, and we urge all citizens to give their time and to make a difference in the lives of our most vulnerable children by volunteering with the Guardian Ad Litem program.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Andrea Beemendorfer. I represent abused and neglected children. Our program, we recruit and we train volunteers to represent the children in court, their best interest. It's grown. I've been with the program for over 25 years, and I've seen it grow immensely. We truly want to thank all of our volunteers. They do a remarkable job representing all the abused and neglected and abandoned children.
My name is Barry Scanlon. I am a guardian. It's very fulfilling, as we are usually the first adult that a child has had that they can trust in their life. We stay with them through the course of their movement through the system. And I think the one thing we give them that they never had before is hope. They can see that they can get out of the particular situations they're in and move on to what we all consider a normal life. And normal to these kids, when we first come across them, is usually abuse and being moved around from grandmother to auntie to uncle. So any improvement on that is great for them, and that's what we advocate for and push for. And any of you who wish to become guardians, I'll be outside for about 10 minutes, and I'll be happy to talk to you about any little thing you want. And I'll also take checks on behalf of the charity Voices for Children that supports the Guardian program.
Could you give us where contact for anyone who'd like to contact and get some more information if they're not available today, Barry, what they would do?
Yes, 772-785-5803.
Say it again. None of us are that fast.
Okay, 772-785-5803.
Thank you, Andrea.
Is there a website that you guys have, or?
Yeah, you would ask me that, wouldn't
you? I'm sorry, I apologize.
I do have cards.
I have cards, okay, thank you.
It's the GALP program. It would come under government. It's a Florida state-run organization, but sustained by volunteers.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good of you.
25 years.
Thanks very much. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Before we go on to public comment, I want to recognize somebody. And it's in light of Scots. Some of you probably know my wife, Bobby Jean Kincaid McMichael, is 100% Scottish. But we have in the back today, and Scottish women are so important in the heritage, and I can tell you they're determined. And the one in the back, Joyce Smith, is a leader of the Scottish Society here and a great lady. And Joyce, welcome. We're pleased to have you with us today. Well, we have another special pleasure today in that we have sister cities here in Indian River County, and they're ever so important. We believe in home rule, and we believe in having governments close to the people, and we have a fellow city in Sebastian that does precisely that. We're proud to be in the same county with them. We're proud to work with them. Mayor Richard Gilmore, would you come forward, please?
Hello, Mayor Winger, council members. Thank you for inviting me. I guess I'm here to give you a little bit of a report. I have been talking with your mayor about what I'm experiencing at the Indian River Lagoon Council. And just as a little background, I've been attending their meetings for about 7 months now. And so, you know, as a sister city, I think it's important that we're all on the same page as far as the lagoon goes. And as we all know, it's in dire straits. It needs as much help as we can give it. And with your STEP program converting septics to sewer, that's going to be one great thing that's going to help the lagoon. We've done a lot of work on our stormwater. We still have a lot of work left to do. We have a lot of connections we have to help folks get from septic tank to sewer as well. But this kind of was the gestation of my interest in going up to seeing what's going on with the NEP, National Estuary Program, and led me to lobby our commissioners to really get on board with this program, because for many years the National Estuary Program has been funded from $500,000 coming from the Environmental Protection Agency federally, and that's been disseminated to all the different entities up and along the Indian River Lagoon. The proposal was to get it out of underneath the umbrella of the St. John's Water Management District, to put it back into the hands of the people and have the 5 counties which front the lagoon be the part of the decision-making process as to where the money goes. And it would also fund and will fund to the tune of about $2.2 million. So this whole National Estuary Program, underneath now the auspices and the direction of the Indian River Lagoon Council, will have a huge, I think it's a 400% increase in funding to give out for those types of works that the municipalities and the counties need to do to fix the lagoon. So that said, my efforts to try to lobby the commission was unsuccessful, and so I went to the Lagoon Council and said, well, look, if Indian River County doesn't want to opt in, Sebastian would love to opt in, and I know other cities will want to come along with us. And to make a long story short, we have talked in between ourselves, between the different cities here in Indian River County, and I think we're all aboard that if we come together with an Indian River Lagoon cooperative, an interlocal that puts all our cities together, we can, I'm pretty positive that we can gain one seat on the Lagoon Council to speak for the citizens of Indian River County. And I was encouraged at my last meeting that I spoke with their attorney, and the only sticking point that she could see was that if we come on board as a sitting member, what happens if Indian River County down the road decides that they want to opt in? So as long as we have representation, I think that was our big concern. My big concern is we need a voice. I said, well, if we opted out, if they opted in, then you'd still only have one entity on there from Indian River County. Obviously, we wouldn't want to opt out before the end of the fiscal year, because the monies we put in, we would want to see that come back to us. That was the only sticking point that I could see, and she said, well, I think with that, I think that we can successfully get you on board. I talked with some of the other commissioners. I talked with the administrator right now. He's the interim administrator, Director Maurice Sterling. And I just think that whatever we can do, we need to do all we can for the Indian River Lagoon. So whether you get a grant to help you with your STEP program, whether we get a grant to help us with our baffle boxes and filtering the unfiltered runoff from US 1, it's all going to help. And I look at the Indian River Lagoon as a kind of like a condominium pool. I mean, we all are using it. And if somebody on the south end fixes their part of the lagoon, it's going to help us. If someone on the north end removes muck, it's going to help the lagoon. It's going to help us. So Any questions?
Go ahead.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Yes, with you have cities joining this coalition, what will be their contribution then to the council?
Well, it hasn't been discussed yet, but I would imagine that they're going to require a $50,000 buy-in from whatever entity takes the place of Indian River County. That's how much each county is putting up. So that would mean if each city, that if we have 4 cities involved, it would mean 12.5 from each city would go in to make up the $50,000. If Orchid decides that they can be a part of it, it would be $10,000 for each entity to come in. We would have 1 seat, and corporately we would meet and discuss what our issues are, and that would be brought forward to the lagoon.
And how would we handle voting then? I would assume since we would have 1 vote and you would possibly have 4 entities with vested interests.
Mm-hmm. Well, we would rank our projects, I would guess ourselves. We would each have projects that would help the lagoon. We would do an internal ranking, and then we would take those rankings to the Lagoon Council, and they would be the ones to decide which ones are funded and which ones aren't.
The National Estuary Program was started back in '91, and supposedly preparing a comprehensive plan to try to help our lagoon. Back in 2010, 2011. DEP came to this council and presented their comprehensive plan, saying, "Oh, the lagoon looks fine." And of course, we're all sitting here a bit horrified, saying, "Excuse me, are you that out of touch? We're having a major, destruction of seagrasses."
Sure.
And totally, So I guess I'm still trying to understand how creating another group, another bit of bureaucracy in between, is going to improve.
Well, I think, and I was sitting on the Treasure Coast League of Cities at the time, and it was the DEP, Tom Frick, that came and said how great the lagoon is, but he was not part of the NEP. I think that was just the state of Florida. So I don't think we can blame the NEP for that. They've been working consistently with underfunded with $500,000. You can't do a whole lot with $500,000. You really can't. But their administrative fees, because they've been underneath the umbrella of St. John's, has been relatively modest, about $40,000 a year. So about $460,000 went into projects and has gone into projects. I spoke with Representative Mayfield, and she was unaware of that. She said, "Well, I didn't know they did anything." Well, $75,000 went to Indian River Shores for Baffle Box last year. Those projects are moving forward. How much more can you do with $2 million than you can with $500,000?
My concern is that their administration will grow into that $2 million, and that it will not remain at that level.
Well, you've got 5 people on there that are elected by the people to make sure that doesn't happen.
And you have how many government agencies?
2 voting.
2 voting members. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's the elected officials that, quite frankly, outnumber the bureaucratic
Absolutely.
group quite significantly.
Yeah, you've got 5. Well, right now we only have 4.
Right.
But hopefully we'll have 5 that will be elected officials that will decide how the money's spent. The other thing is we have I say we prematurely. The Indian River Lagoon Council has many options as far as where they can originate or where they can end up. Harbor Branch has offered their facilities. FIT has offered their facilities. We at Sebastian have excess space we could house them at. So initially, I don't think the startup costs are going to be that great. You're looking at a staff of probably 5 people. But again, you're going from $500,000 to $2.2 million as far as, and that's getting it out from underneath a government bureaucracy, having it administered by folks who are elected, is going to give it the freedom to get some more money, leverage some more money from private donors who would like to see the Indian River Lagoon be something that their children and their grandchildren can enjoy. So I see this as just the tip of the iceberg, a beginning of the funding that's going to be needed to correct the lagoon.
Mayor Gilbert, that you mentioned a staff of 5. Is that NEP's current staff? Or is this a new staff that's being created to support this Indian River Lagoon Council?
Well, right now they're using staff from the St. John's Water Management District. One of those individuals, Frank, can't think of his last name. Anyway, he's going to be still carrying forward, but you're going to need a director. We have an interim director now, so they'll need a director and probably 2 other people. So the staff is going to have to be created.
So there is no current staff at NEP?
There's current staff now, but they're funded by the St. John's Water Management District. They're doing double duty. They're being paid by St. John's.
And and St. John's will be a member of this.
St. John's is going to fund it to the tune of $500,000 every year, and so is South Florida Water Management District. So that's $1 million right there by the 2 water management districts. There's another $250 from the Department of Environmental Protection. So that's what, 1.25, 2.5 from the counties. And then 500,000, 600,000 this year from the DEP from federal. So it's a lot of money.
Wayne, I believe you're working with the attorneys in the other cities and we have an interlocal in front of us. As a matter of fact, I don't know whether it's final or not.
No, in fact, Bob Ginsburg is supposed to get with the attorneys for the other cities. I expect to hear from him.
Sure. And I asked Mr. Ginsburg, our city manager, put this together, and he did a great job. But I'm sure when you have 4 or 5 attorneys, you're going to have changes. Okay, just saying. But what we did is we passed a couple weeks ago. We passed an interlocal, but we really passed it saying this is really what we want. If the language changes, we're probably going to be okay with it because we know there's going to be some changes to the language. But the idea, the core idea behind it is that by joining together, and really, what better thing to join together for than the Indian River Lagoon? I mean, I'm passionate about it. That's why we live here. We love the lagoon. And it's going to be a generational thing to fix. This is not going to get fixed by one county. I don't care how many programs you have. You can't fix it by one county. One city can't fix it. And it's going to really filter back down to you're going to have to get down to the individual level to say, look, all the ditches here lead to the lagoon. We have signs like that in our county. But guess what? Every swale leads to those ditches that leads to the lagoon. So don't throw your cat litter in the ditch behind your house. I mean, it's got to be personal before we're going to fix it. So if I could encourage you to take a look at once we get this together, I don't think it should take more than a couple weeks to really sit down and say, well, let's change a few words, let's get it right. The next meeting from the National or the Indian River Lagoon Council is going to be April 17th. That's a Friday, next Friday. I'll be at that. I think was it the 23rd? We're going to Indian River Shores to talk to their council. So Fellsmere is already aboard. And again, I can't tell you, I don't know about Orchid. I don't know whether Orchid will opt in or opt out. There's just such a small entity. But anyway.
Well, I think it's a great thing. Indian River County, one way or another, has got to be part of it. And I was with Senator Nelson, it's been probably a year ago, and we were talking about the lagoon. And the problem becomes all levels of government have to step up. I mean, it involves all of us. We being the closest, I think it's important that we step up first, and I congratulate Sebastian, and I think City Council here in Vero Beach has been very interested and doing whatever can be done in the lagoon. And we've talked about this, and I think there's great support for it. I think great support amongst our people. I think it takes us all pulling together, and the way I look at this also, if it costs us $12,500, we'll get environmental payback of that squared. And beyond that, we'll get financial payback because we have many projects in this city that we need help with. And so this is a win-win. And it's a pleasure to join together with you, and that will formally happen when we have a document to approve, which we will have. But thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Lila Blakesley, would you come forward, please?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having all of us. I have an entourage here too, and forgive me for reading because otherwise I'll talk way too much. So, hello, my name is Lila Blakesley. I'm a founding member of Gallery 14 in the Downtown Arts District, and I'm here today with other gallery owners and supporters of our downtown renaissance to ask for financial support from the city to sustain our shuttle initiative. When Gallery 14 opened 8 years ago, there was only one other art gallery on 14th Avenue, Tiger Lily. Together, we initiated open house strolls with the encouragement and support of Main Street Vero Beach and the Cultural Council. We had 3 strolls a year to introduce residents to the many wonderful businesses, restaurants, and of course the 2 galleries located at the south end of State Road 60. Within a year, more galleries opened, and these open house strolls morphed into the First Friday gallery strolls, which have become an immensely popular attraction for both Vero residents and tourists alike. As is often the case, the art galleries were followed by other businesses, and as more restaurants opened, the evening parking availability became a major concern. Over the past few years, cars have been towed, frustrated customers canceled restaurant reservations, and because they couldn't find a parking spot, and there became a need for a solution that would satisfy all the businesses downtown and the people who support them. As you are aware, there are no public parking lots on the south end of 14th Avenue, and the continued concerns for pedestrians crossing the Twin Pairs is an ongoing issue. Many of the grass lots are off the alleys are used by restaurant staff or business owners already. The idea for providing a shuttle seemed a workable solution, and with the availability of the public parking lot on the east of 12th Court, which is a central access and rarely used, we had approval from our city manager, Mr. Jim O'Connor, and I pitched this idea to the art galleries, restaurants, and supporting businesses. And we all chipped in to pay for the Go Line shuttle for 3 months as a test to learn if it was a viable solution. Needless to say, we have all been amazed by its success. Through social media, radio, and press releases, we announced the shuttle route, and although we do not have the final numbers, we have been told by Go Line officials that the public has been using the service enthusiastically. In fact, the lot has been filled to capacity for most of the duration of the strolls. So this is a win-win for all the downtown galleries, restaurants, and businesses, and for the art-loving public of Vero Beach. It has alleviated parking concerns. It has assisted in transporting people that otherwise would not attend while not taking, and also we're not taking up restaurant parking for hours on end. All feedback has been positive, and of course the shuttle has been available to be used by people who are not necessarily there for the stroll either. We encourage them to use it for restaurants too. We made sure everybody can ride. The cost to run the Go Line shuttle for next season for the 6-month period, November through April, would cost $1,200. As I said, the money this time was provided by the volunteer art galleries and restaurants, and the recent April art stroll was our last paid shuttle service for the season, even though we will continue to have First Friday gallery strolls throughout the year. We hope that patrons won't be frustrated or disappointed if they're standing down there in May and there's no shuttle, but we'll deal with that issue when it happens. However, more and more restaurant residents are living year-round, and we may consider offering this service during the summer too. Time will tell. We are also aware that the Downtown Economic Development Advisory Committee is also exploring the possibility of expanding routes to service the downtown area with the GO line, and they support our proposal as well. In conclusion, we would love to continue and perhaps expand this service in the future, but please understand that even the relatively small cost of doing so is a burden to the galleries, which frankly are not what you call profit centers. What we propose is for the City of Vero Beach to assist in the cost of hiring the shuttle for next season from November through April. We are requesting only $600 or a portion of the direct cost of leasing the bus from GO Line. Advertising and promotion of the service would be handled separately by the galleries as it has up till now. What we are hearing from gallery and restaurant patrons, business owners, and general visitors to the area is that they love it and they want to use it. We hope that this trial run has shown that there is a need and a solution that everyone can benefit from, and we hope that the city will support this effort. Thank you for your time and consideration.
This was on March 30th on the Economic Development Zone Committee meeting, and it's spelled out there in some detail. I personally don't have any problem with it, but I don't know what others think.
I assume it's $600 a year, or for the season?
Months.
6 months.
It was $1,200 for 6 months, and if we're just proposing the city assist us, like what I did. When we had approval from City Manager Jim O'Connor, I had to pitch this idea to the galleries, and I went also to the restaurants. That's why I brought a restaurant owner, another gallery owner, and another business owner down here, because we found that not the galleries don't benefit alone. The restaurants do too, and I want, for example, Ian said he had a record night that night. We put some of the stops. We had 5 stops that I had to pick, and it was a continuous route, and we can expand this because there's other places on Old Dixie. There's 2 new galleries that have opened up, one on 18th. And at the time, they're all saying, oh, we're on the shuttle route too, but they hadn't helped us contribute to this. But if we can find a way to help us fund it, because like I said, the galleries aren't really money makers, and we're providing this wonderful event. We're trying to sell art, but that isn't necessarily, like you said, a profit center. But we want this to be a safe way for people to come downtown and participate. In the past, I'd heard from people said they didn't even come downtown on Friday because of the parking, or the restaurants would say people would park and they take up a lot, their space for 3 hours. And I'm just trying to find a way that we all can work together. And that central parking lot was perfect, but many people still were afraid to make the crosses of crossing the 20th east or westbound, and it seemed to solve a lot of problems. We had many people thank us over and over again for providing this.
If the council wishes, we'll place that into the budget next year because it doesn't start till November. And so it'll be a budget item that will be included in that budget proposal.
And I think, that's appropriate time to be discussing it again, Mr. O'Connor. But I guess my concern, I think it's fabulous what's gone on, in downtown, and I congratulate the galleries and the restaurants for increasing this vitality in downtown. My concern is you start subsidizing a bus service for downtown, then we're going to have one for Ocean Drive, and other business areas. Where do you draw the line? And that's just something for discussion later on.
Can I address that? First of all, and not only am I a gallery owner and a member of this group, but I'm also on the Downtown Economic Development Zone Advisory Committee, the one that Mayor Winger was just referring to. And I'm also on the parking committee, so I don't have a lot of time.
When do you run your business, Barry?
Yeah, somebody's over there, I think. But we are looking at a shuttle service downtown because there isn't, I'm sorry, not downtown. We are looking at it on the beach because there is a parking issue there given the number of employees for the various hotels and restaurants. So that is happening, and that is also being financially supported by those businesses. But eventually, GO Line, which is a public business or a public service, and the city are going to have to look at addressing this because as the city grows and more and more, there's more and more demand, and there is a demand, it's going to become more difficult for the businesses to sustain what's needed. They're going to need some form of help. And it does benefit the city. It benefits tourism. It benefits the businesses. And so I think it's appropriate to look at what works to build business and build a sense of safety as well, both in downtown Vero and on the beach.
And the citizens all benefit, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no question.
Well, you know, hopefully the art district will become a reality. And we were asked to support that, and we certainly do support it. It really costs us nothing. We have all gain. Here, we're being asked for $600. And like I said, I have no problem with it. I support your effort. Ian, you have the best beer in town, by the way.
Thank you, Mayor.
So, Jim, I think the proper thing to do in public comment, we don't usually vote or approve things, is for you to put it in the budget, and as Mrs. Turner says, we'll discuss it then. That's the proper protocol. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll open it to general public comment. Who would like to come forward? Identify yourself and where you live, and keep it as brief if you can. It's appreciated.
Thank you. My name is Susie Feeney, and I'm the new executive director at the Heritage Center.
Wow. Good.
And I'm also with Compassion Vero. You've seen me here before with that. I have a meeting at 11 o'clock, and so I wanted to sneak in something before I needed to take off for that. I wanted to address people concerning the resolution having to do with the economic development plan. Even though I've only been in the position for probably about 5 or 6 weeks right now, it's been very exciting to see what the group has pulled together. And the Heritage Center is very interested in being able to support it in just about every way that they possibly can, and that you might all get to see some of the new and exciting things we're going to be doing there. One of the issues, though, that is mentioned in there that's given us a little pause is talking about what they refer to as the band shell. Now, you'll have to forgive me. I came from New England, and we call them clam shells up there. And we loved our 4th of July in Boston. And it was interesting because in my short time that I have been at the Heritage, and I tell people that I was doing, 90% of the time, the stories that came back to me all had to do with the green space. They all talked about the moms having picnics in the side yards and the little kids rolling down hills, which you do not have an abundance of in Florida. So it always sort of surprised me, and that was always followed up by Santa Claus, with having Santa Claus come later in the year. What we are just asking for is, as this process goes forward, let us be able to share what we feel about the green space, and that's just as critical to what the mission is of the Heritage Center, as being sort of the heart of Vero, and that we just would like to be able to talk more about how valuable and how small the amount of green space is that is downtown. So I hope you'll wait and hear some of the new ideas that might accomplish some of the ideas that the clamshell, that band shell would do. But I want to thank you for your time.
Ms. Feeney, you know, while you're there, I can only, we're a council of 5, we each have 1 vote. Speaking for myself, band shell sounds like a good idea, but I would be concerned that that area is pretty constricted, and there's things that people love there. Not the Heritage Center, the shuffleboard courts, the tennis courts, and the space to me looks rather constricted. I personally think that if this idea goes forward, a great deal of thought has to be concerned, and this is what you're saying, I'm saying what you're saying, a great deal of thought would have to go into where such a structure would go. I mean, it would be a great thing to have, but we don't want to lose anything.
I love the idea of...
I love the idea too, but
I do.
My mind boggles at where it would go. I don't know.
I have to agree. My first week that I was on the job, shuffleboard was not in my world, okay? Little did I realize that our shuffleboard court is a big deal. I couldn't find parking for the first 10 days in terms of people come from all over the country to play shuffleboard there. And from what I understand, that's half the amount of shuffleboard that used to be there. So to me, it's been a fascinating thing. I agree with you, Mayor, that I love the idea, and we would like to be part of trying to find the best place that's large enough to be able to do that, and still hang on to what precious assets that we can't replace with green space.
If you look at the vision plan in 2005 and the preamble to it, it talks about exactly this issue. As Vero Beach grows and prospers and becomes more vital for its people, how do we keep the traditional good parts of it?
Right.
And how do we add to that in a manner that doesn't really ruin or obfuscate our past? And I think this is one. It would be a step forward only if it's thought about.
Right. I think the right place. I love the idea. I would do everything that we can to be able to help support it. But I want to protect the green space.
When's the Heritage Center, Susie?
Excuse me?
What year was it built?
1935.
1935.
Exactly.
That's pretty important.
It is. It's funny because I was taking a look at our lease yesterday, and I picked it up at an attorney's office, and there was a book sitting there, and it was fascinating to me because I opened up to it. It says about the Vero Beach Community Building. It says, perhaps no other building in Vero Beach holds an equal place in the memories and hearts of residents. And I know that when I was interviewed for the job, I've only been here in Vero just shy of 4 years now, and Jay, many people have heard me say I found my life again with being able to be outside and not hiding at 4 o'clock at night in 20-degree weather. But the part that as some of my friends that have been lifelong Vero Beach residents that I found I could never have is I could never have the history. But I know I could be part of making the memories for the future. And so I thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming forward. I get 4 demerits for stretching that out. But Mr. Herron, would you like to come forward, sir?
Thank you, Council. Glenn Herron. I live at 1964 Gray Falcon Circle, Southwest. And I'm here today to see if you'll take specific action with respect to the sale of Vero Electric to FP&L. And I'll get to that in a second. Obviously, you all are aware that this community has voted to sell to FP&L twice. And I believe there was also a survey of the entire customer base, and 80% voted to sell to FP&L. The only reason we haven't sold to FP&L is because of a shadow bureaucracy known as the FMPA and the struggle to exit the FMPA, to exit the contracts, and more importantly, to get the assets back that we have invested in the FMPA for over 30 years. Well, fortunately, the public is becoming more aware of the FMPA and its activities, largely due to writings specifically by Larry Reisman in the PJ, the Press Journal, had a great editorial in Sunday's paper. Also, Florida Tax Watch has now become engaged, and Florida Tax Watch made a presentation to the auditor, the Joint Legislative Audit Committee in Tallahassee last Friday, and the Friday before, and I was actually there. I drove to Tallahassee for that. Tax Watch specifically said, with respect to the FMPA, exit costs must be reasonable and predictable and not at the sole discretion of the FMPA bureaucracy. And that's the reason why we're struggling to get out of the FMPA. So I've just received a letter from the Auditor General that came to the county administrator's office, and I'll paraphrase. The last paragraph is where it's important. It says, and I'll give this letter to you. With respect to the audit that they just performed, it says, performing evaluation of the business assets of the FMPA falls outside the scope and objectives of the audit that they just performed. However, a valuation of the electric utility assets of the FMPA, if directed by the legislature, would be the objective of a separate engagement. They are essentially saying they'll do an audit of the assets of the FMPA, which is how you're going to determine if exit costs are reasonable. You must value the assets, the cash, the investments, and more specifically, the generation assets. So, with that, and Jim, I know we've talked about this before, I do not mean valuing the contracts. I mean valuing the assets of the FMPA, something that we've owned for the last 30-plus years. So the specific action that I believe you must take today is, at least at a minimum, write a resolution today to tell the Auditor General, and specifically the Joint Legislative Action Committee, to send the auditors back for a second audit, with its first priority being the valuation of the assets of the FMPA. So I would ask you to do that. I don't know how you do that today, but I would ask you to do that.
Yeah. Just like to say, the FMPA is an unregulated monopoly. For over 37 years, it's operated with no oversight, utilizing public funds and tax-free loan status. Vero Beach has paid millions and millions of dollars to FMPA for our power over the past 30 years. And what do we have? Doing an evaluation of their assets is clearly the way to see how they have been running this business and if they've been running it efficiently for the ratepayers. These contracts we're in were described as Hotel California by one of the audit committee board members, saying you can check in, but you can't check out. And I think the reasonableness of the terms of exit in these contracts has to be reviewed. So I would certainly ask our city attorney to prepare a resolution for council for our next meeting.
We have an audit FMPA has an audit, a financial audit, and it clearly describes that the depreciated value of all the assets.
Sure. Store cost.
Yeah. And if you're looking for the market value, is that what you're looking for?
Correct.
Yeah. You have to have some sales of other entities. You can look at that, but nothing's obviously been sold. And also that you're really, when you're trying to buy or sell them, you also have to look at the decommissioning costs and that sort of thing, which is one of the problems that everybody has in pricing these things and why we haven't been able to sell it.
Yeah, Mr. Olds, generation assets in the United States are sold fairly routinely. In fact, one of the last ones was a coal plant in Kentucky about September 2014. So it is done, and valuations are not complex. So it's something that, given the fact that it's not a complex issue, this body should be able to recommend a valuation of the FMPA so that the public, after 30-some years of ownership of the FMPA, would know what they own.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Is it the council's pleasure to have a resolution come back?
As a council member, I'm requesting that we prepare that resolution to present to council at the next meeting.
Well, I'd like to hear the council say they'd like that. I mean, that takes work that if it's not going to be supported, I'd like to kind of know now before we expend the man hours on it.
And yet you prepared one on youth council that was pulled before the council, from Councilwoman Graves, and that was pulled, was never even brought to council.
That was a previous one that was on file. All they had to do is pull it out of the file.
I tend to think that we've gone through this process of trying to get out of FMPA enough. We've gone through it twice. We've gone through legal fees of, I'm not sure how much, $3 million, $4 million, and that the idea of the audit now is happening. Let's at least see, going through this audit and the response to the audit that FMPA is coming up with before we go through another audit. I don't think, first of all, we've not really seen FMPA's reaction to the audit and what they're going to be doing. And I for one, think that getting a management consulting firm in to look at the management and oversight of FMPA is the way to go. I don't think right now an additional audit is what we ought to be looking for.
FMPA's CEO and chief counsel did not even appear before the audit commission. Obviously, that gives the impression that they're not taking this whole audit process seriously. I mean, the committee discussed the gross lack of accountability, failed management practices, hundreds of $millions lost with risky financial moves, outlandish perks that are all being paid at ratepayers' expense. I think as the board of directors for the electric company, we need to take a stand to protect our ratepayers.
Mr. Mucher?
Mark Mucher, 617 Indian Lilac Road. I'd like to maybe not correct, but enhance what Mrs. Turner said about Hotel California. I think it might better be described as a roach motel. But I'd also like to remind you all that I've gotten up in front of the County Commission, the Indian River Shores Town Council, and this City Council, and after the preliminary audit was performed and the valuation, which professional auditors have told me is an integral part of an operational audit, but that when we saw that the valuation part of it was missing, we asked for the legislature or the Auditor General to include that in what I called a Phase 2 audit. It's probably not the right term. The Indian River, or the County Commission passed such a resolution, as did Indian River Shores, and the majority of this council just blew off that suggestion. I believe what Mr. Old just said makes it clear that there is no interest on the part of at least himself to continue to try and sell or to get out of the electric business. And so, I would support Mr. Herron's recommendation. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
I'd like to speak, but not on this topic.
Anyone else like to speak on this topic? All right, we'll open it to other topics.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor? We still had,
In public comment, we don't, as you have pointed out previously, make a vote. We've had a vote on this in the past. I don't see any groundswell.
I would just like to make sure I'm understanding then that no one else in this council then is willing to move forward with the desire from the voters and the ratepayers to continue to try to get out of FMPA.
I think they should do these things, but the problem we're running up against is out of everyone in that room, we're the only one asking, and nothing seems to be happening. That's the thing. We can do this. We can pass it, but what is it going to do? Mr. Old we can't even get some of the things we want done happening. They're not showing up. They're not doing this. We can pass it, but what will happen by doing that except getting pushed further and further and further out of the conversation?
No, this is having the state legislator audit committee come in to further investigate the value of FMPA.
But again,
and as the audit committee, there were people from businesses and outside areas that are paying outrageous rates because of FMPA membership electric rates. There is the tax watch there reviewing these documents and these contracts and saying, hey, there certainly are issues here to be addressed. You've had a government bureaucracy that has gone on for 37 years without anybody looking out for the ratepayer. The board of directors consists of municipal electric managers as well as city managers. They're just there to perpetuate FMPA and the municipal electric.
I think if you look at our council and our city and our representation on FMPA, I don't think that any of our past representatives have been sitting there in order just to perpetuate FMPA. I mean, you didn't. I don't think Jim O'Connor, when he was on the committee, or Tom Richards when they were on it, to perpetuate FMPA. It was the idea of doing the best thing for the city, and that's what they were trying to do. The citizens that are on that committee and work on the board of FMPA work hard to try to do the right thing for their cities. They've been making mistakes, there's no question about it, but they've been trying hard to do the right thing for their cities all along.
Would you like to come forward, ma'am?
Good morning, City Council, Mayor, Commissioners, and...
Pull the speaker down a little bit.
We want to hear you.
You're a giant.
Good morning, City Council, Mayor, Commissioners, and Administrators. My name is Colleen Rosenbaum, and I'm here, excuse me, to represent homeowners for a better Vero Beach. I spoke recently on the short-term rental issue, and that's what I'm here about. I know it's scheduled to have the ordinance is scheduled to have a second reading, but I'd like to shed some light on it and hopefully prevail on you to collaborate with the homeowners and have a perspective that encompasses all of Vero from every angle. It's estimated that in the last 2 years, 5,000 sets of visitors have come to not only Vero Beach but Indian River County, and that in each vacation rental house, approximately 10 families have come to visit. If there's been 9 complaints in the last 2 years, that is like less than 1/100% of all the visitors, the 5,000 visits, which doesn't necessarily, I think in any estimation, equate to a problem. And the problems that do exist definitely would need to be addressed. I think the benefits far outweigh the isolated incidents of problems, which could be rectified with management. And I know your ordinance has severe penalties constituting of $500 a day for less than 30 days rental periods. I don't know of any outreach that's been done to the property owners, the vacation rental property owners. I haven't seen it in the newspapers. People have spent money on plane fares. They come here, they spend money. Vero Beach is not known as a party city. It's not like a South Beach in Miami or Las Vegas. People come here for tranquility and everything Vero has to offer. And the people that come, if you could get to know even a fraction of them, you would see the most wonderful individuals that you would ever want to meet. And so, whether you do it now or it ends up coming into effect, and then, there's all the repercussions that result from it, from the mass foreclosures and fire sales. As a matter of fact, speaking of real estate, 21% of the people who buy real estate here come here as vacationers. There's so many benefits, and I know you have a vision of the city, and I urge you to incorporate this, and we can together make it work and make Vero better and stronger and continue to be the vibrant city that it is. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Who else would like to come forward? Laura? I know who you are, but tell us who you are.
Laura Moss, 275 Day Palm Road. I just wanted to return to the matter of the lagoon. I was going to thank Mayor Gilmore. If he's now, I'm sure he's back at work. But I wanted to share a scientific opinion with you. Coincidentally, with Mayor Gilmore's appearance, there happens to be an article written by two scientists in the current issue of American Scientist, which is a very highly respected scientific journal, and it addresses the destruction of coastal ecosystems. So it's not just a local problem, it's a huge problem. It's pretty scary, actually. It's a short article. I know you're burdened with many, many things that you have to read. This is only 4 pages, and I have copies which I will hand to Ms. Bach at a later date, so you can read it in its entirety. But I would like to read just one sentence from it now. And again, it was written by two scientists, and it says, what they are saying, what is most frustrating to us as marine scientists is that these problems are preventable. Human development and healthy ecosystems do not have to be at odds if communities think about sustainability. Within the article itself, the two scientists believe that this will happen. The way that it will happen is by local decision makers, such as yourself, working with governmental agencies, nonprofit organizations, scientific and community groups, and property owners, both commercial and private. And they give a number of examples in this short article, which I found very interesting. But to sum it up, what I'm here to say is that science is on your side. You always can use this article, and it's not a lot of money to spend. And I agree with you, Pilar. It's always a concern about, well, what will this become? And, I am involved with Taxpayers Association, and I'm well aware you always have to be financially and fiscally responsible. But I think this idea of cooperation is the way to make it happen. It's not just our problem. It's a gigantic problem, and we are going to have to spend some money, and we are going to have to work with a lot of different groups. Although that was a good question: how many are elected officials? And it always should be the majority. You always should be responsible to the people. I'm a very firm believer in that. But at any rate, thank you for your time. It's a beautiful. I made color copies. It's like I said, it's a little scary. It shows the pollution, and it shows the coastline, these really endangered areas, of course, which we are one. But I'll get that to Tammy, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Bach. Can we have the color copy?
You can.
Who would like to come forward? Come forward, sir.
Sorry for the delay. Good morning, Mayor Winger, council members, and city staff. I'm a homeowner. I would like to basically echo the comments of...
Tell us who you are and where you live.
My name is Gary Garvey, and I'm at 1148 Admiral's Walk, Castaway Cove. I have a rental property. I only have one rental property. I purchased it 4 years ago. I renovated it. I was told by my realtor that there was a ordinance on the books that outlawed short-term rental, but I was also told that it was in conflict with state law and that it was not enforced. And based on that, I decided to settle here. So, of course, recently I've been cited because I've been renting the place on a short-term rental basis. And I rent it for about maybe 5 months out of the year, on and off, and I reside here during about maybe 5 or 6 months out of the year. I enjoy Vero, I love Vero, and I plan on making it my home when I do eventually retire in about 2 or 3 years. At that time, I wouldn't be renting at all. But I have this short-term problem where there'll be an income shortfall, and basically my revenue would go, I'm making maybe $32,000 a year on average, and that would drop to about $12,000 or $13,000 a year. So there'd be maybe $22,000, $20,000 income shortfall. And that would present a bit of a financial hardship for me. I rent through VRBO and HomeAway, and the people who correspond with me, I inquire about who they are, how old they are, how many in the party, what their purpose is, and that kind of thing. I have never had a complaint from any of my neighbors. Nobody's ever said that they've been noisy or disruptive at all. So I think that, responsible stewardship of short-term rentals can be effective at minimizing the disruption to the community. The other thing is that last year I paid $3,300 to state and local governments for taxes for tourist tax. I know that there are 31 property owners involved. I don't know how many properties are involved, but if you do the math, you're talking about over $1 million worth of revenue. In addition to that, the people who come and stay, they spend money in the local community on dining, entertainment, services, managing the rental property. There's significant funds that are spent locally on maid service, custodial, management services as well. So the financial impact to the community is significant. It's over $1 million worth of direct revenue, but it might turn out to be something like $3 or $4 million when you add up all of the money that short-term rentals brings into the community. And also the direct impact on the city that we provide some support. I understand that it might be an inconvenience that there's some individuals who can abuse the short-term rentals, but I'm a utilitarian in the sense that I think it's best to basically maximize the greatest good for the maximum number of people. And this ordinance, that if it were implemented, would be okay for most people, but it would really dramatically impact the homeowners. And perhaps there'd be some kind of compensation that the city would consider, increasing the tax. You could, perhaps basically instead of making $30,000, you could double it, triple it, quadruple it, and I'm sure that the homeowners would much more prefer that to just an outright ban on short-term rental.
Which Castaway you live in?
Wave 3.
Well, when Castaway Cove was set up, and I happen to live in Castaway Cove too, there's a prohibition against any rental shorter than 180 days, subject to fine. And in Castaway 4 and 5 that's enforced, I believe you'll find that your covenants sanctioned by the state of Florida do not allow you to rent in there. I'm just giving you a heads up.
I reviewed we have about a 58-page covenant. I reviewed it, and Wave 3 in particular doesn't have that prohibition.
Okay. Well, thank you for correcting me.
But they're in the process of implementing something, and there will be a 30-day minimum if it goes through, but it hasn't gone through as of yet.
Well, I think we understand your angst, but we appreciate you telling us about it, and we will vote on it, and you'll see.
Okay. Could I ask one?
Of course.
One more question. In the short term, I have 7 renters who I've contracted, I've contracted with, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, and they basically have plane tickets. They're coming from places as far away as Germany and England, and it would be a significant inconvenience for them to implement this immediately. So as a kind of a minimum request, I would like to suggest that the council consider a phase-in over maybe 3 or 4 months, that we could basically flush out the existing short-term rental and not cancel their contracts. Thank you very much.
All right. Further public comment? Mr. Daig?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, Council. Just real quick, when you get to your consent agenda, I have some concerns with 3.8, and also when you get to your resolution, 5.A, I'd like to talk on that. And one other issue, as this moves forward on the Lagoon Initiative, I hope that you're able to work out some type of agreement with the other cities, and I hope that we're able to step up to the plate, because it would be nice to be at the table, because when you have representation at that table, you begin to shape policy, inform policy, and you're also there for the money. So I hope this council will take that initiative. Thank you.
All right, further public comment. If it's on the rental, you may stay for 4A1 and make a comment then at that time. So it's perfectly fine for you to get up and talk about rental. If you have another subject, you're welcome. But if it's for the rental, it's 4A1. Okay? Further public comment? Seeing none, I close public comment. On the consent agenda, I agree with Mr. Daig. I have one notation on 8. I'd like to pull 8, but it's minor.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to pull number 2. I had some revisions to those minutes that I didn't get them in a timely manner. Could we move it for approval for the next meeting?
By all means.
Thank you.
Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 5-0. So 2 we'll not deal with today.
Mayor, I'm sorry. We did need to let the public speak on the consent agenda items.
Thank you. Anyone like to speak on these items? Seeing none. I'm clean now, right?
You're good. Number 8 still open that we were going to discuss.
Yeah, the only comment I have on number 8, I don't know whether it's the same as Mr. Daig has, but he's welcome to come forward if it's not. I just want to be sure that the pool, I'm all for doing everything we can with the high school and the school district. I just want to be sure that the pool, Mr. O'Connor, is going to be open to the public.
Absolutely. They use about 2 hours on some of the days. Even their swim meets are between 2 and 2.5 hours. This has been one of those continuing agreements between the school board and the city for many years, and we have not experienced any conflict.
And Mr. O'Connor, I have a question. As far as the agreement says that we will provide bleachers, and it's kind of, for their public events, and the way it's written, it's kind of an unlimited amount of times. I guess I was concerned if this is getting to be, or could grow into a bigger burden on the city. It's at no cost to them that we put them out, we pick them up. And Mr. Slezak, welcome.
Rob Slezak, Recreation Director. At this point, it has not become a concern. We do document every time they use our facilities, all that other thing, whether it's stage, bleachers, or even our rental facilities. They do pay for cleaning as one of the things that they do. And in return, we do get a lot of good benefits, too. One being the use of the buses with the fuel, and we don't pay the fuel costs. So that's a big deal, especially for summer camp. So it's been a really good agreement to this point, and we haven't seen anybody really overextend one way or the other, and we've been doing this for over a decade now.
Yeah. And the use of the bleachers or stage equipment, give me some idea how often?
Probably in the neighborhood. The bleachers might be twice a year, if that, and then your or your stage is maybe 3 or 4 times. The only times they're really used are for some major things, like the Sebastian Vero Beach High School football game or something like that.
Okay, great.
So it's not really that bad.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Daig, you reserved time to comment. Are you happy with what we've said or not? Or Mrs. Daig?
Deborah Daig, 1846 21st Avenue. I think it shows great community spirit, the fact that they have these trade-offs. I think that's a great idea. The only thing I was concerned about was because it said from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. that the public understood that, and Rob did a good job, and we spoke with Mr. Connor about that, just because wanted to make sure the public understood that the pool wasn't taken up that entire time, that they still had use of the pool, because with Leisure Square being protected in the charter with the recent land referendum, I'm hoping more people will take advantage of the center and it becomes more viable, for the city, and with the pavilion and things like that. So my main concern was just that consumers knew that it was still available to them as it was, that there wasn't any misunderstandings.
You're happy with where we are?
Yeah. I just want to make sure.
Thank you. Is there further council comment, or does someone want to make a motion?
I was going to make a move for approval if there's no further comment.
This requires a roll call, no voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, can we get a 5-minute break?
We can absolutely. Why don't we go? We'll come back at
11 o'clock?
11:05, which is 10 minutes. What about that?
That'll be fine. Thank you.